different family members, staff, community members. Then in February, we started meeting. We developed a committee. I'll show you the list of members. Depending on the meeting day, anywhere between 35 and 40 people would participate in the meetings. So in February, we discussed core values, and we started to share those core values with the community. Once we established the core values at that February meeting, I then sent a survey out asking for our families to give their input. Then we came back in March. We did a SWOT analysis, which is an analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we finalized the core values. We took the input that we got from the survey, worked through with committee members, and then we went into April and we created the mission and vision statements. As we got into May, we looked into areas of focus and drafting some SMART goals. Then in June, the administrative team, which were the building principals, their assistant principals, started working to put some action steps to those goals. Here we are in September, where I'm going to present to you the draft part of this plan. And then next month during the board meeting, the plan right now is to embed that into new business. I'll do a state of the schools presentation, which will include aspects of the new strategic plan, as well as some updates on the state report card. Just to give you an idea of the committee members, there you can see listing of many names. We had teachers, administrators, parents, grandparents, non-parents, business people, and most notably, we had representation from every township that makes up the district. So we felt like it was a very all-encompassing and representative committee to kind of help guide us to where we wanted to go. We're very thankful to the people that were a part of that committee. They spent a lot of time, as well as our teachers and administrators, time even after school was out, to come to a few more meetings to wrap some things up. The new core values that we established, you can see here we have 7 core values listed. This came through several different exercises with the committee members, and then vetting those through and kind of narrowing some things down with both the feedback from the community and the committee members. So we landed on character and integrity, community relationships, career readiness, trust, excellence, respect, and accountability. And then there's a little blurb under each one of those, but I'm not going to read each one of those out to you. In terms of the SWOT analysis, the strengths were things that we wanted to build on, and you can see listed here things such as relationships in the community, student focus, project-based learning approach, opportunities, places that we want to invest in, relationships with the county fairgrounds, interscholastic relationships, communications with non-family stakeholders, weaknesses, areas that we want to improve on or mitigate, that mailed newsletter that we have, creation of alumni association, things like that, and then threats, things that we want to monitor and minimize, those negative social media posts, vouchers, budget and funding issues, community misconceptions, things like that. So we went through that, and that helped us to start to craft our mission, our vision, and then get into our focus areas. So when we talk about mission and vision statements, a mission statement is, why we exist, a statement of why we exist. So the new statement of why we exist from our representative committee was that the Berkshire Local Schools exists to encourage lifelong learning, inspire students' highest achievement, and prepare critical thinkers who embody leadership, character, and citizenship. You can boil that down to 3 words: encourage, inspire, and prepare. So long form of our mission statement, as I just read, short form of our mission statement: encourage, inspire, prepare. The vision statement, what do we want to be? What are we trying to become? The Berkshire Local Schools will become the premier school district, universally recognized for dynamic student-centered learning, innovative pathways for future readiness, risk-taking, collaborative partnerships, and the accomplishments which enable our children to thrive in the real world. That's what we want to become in the future. Our areas of focus, 6 areas of focus stood out from the committee, and one was a strong academic excellence. That's an area that we need to focus on. Involving the community and families in more events that bring them into the school. Interscholastic relationships and greater interconnectedness inside the building. Communication with non-family stakeholders. Alumni relations and relationship building and maintaining with our alumni base. And an emphasis on meritocracy. The fact that we want students to want to compete and want to be the best at what they do. So boiling those focus areas down, you never want to have too many goals. We came up with 3 goals. And we felt like goal number 1, that we want to improve our academic performance by 10% by the end of the 2024-25 school year. So if we look at our baseline, will be whatever our results are from this year. And then next year, we want to have improvement of a minimum of 10% on that, while encouraging everyone to absolutely do their best and be their best. A second goal is that we will establish and monitor cross grade level collaboration practices that support student traditions, teacher team data analysis and problem solving, and maximizing shared resources by the end of the school year. So we want to have systems in place that allow those things to happen. And our third goal is that we will improve communications and strengthen relationships with alumni, family, and community members, beginning with the 24-25 school year. Now, what the principals will do with their staffs now is they'll go back and put together specific action steps for each of their levels. And we have some of those action steps globally already, but they're working on some more with their staff. So that will be the basis of the plans. We felt like goal number 1, we're incorporating the academic focus, academic excellence, and the meritocracy. Goal number 2, we're that interconnectedness. Goal number 3 was that those 2 focus areas of focusing on the alumni groups and then the community groups. So that is the 50,000-foot view of the strategic plan as we have it set out for this year. Any questions from the board?
I thought you were going to say something.
Yeah, everything's
Processing.
spinning. Go
I
ahead.
just love it. I just think I got chills at the mission statement there. I love it. I just am very thankful to the large group of people that put so much time into this. That you can just tell there was so much time and thought put into it. And I really feel like it accurately reflects, where we want to go. So thank you all a lot. I love it.
John, we, in our October meeting, you're going to be releasing information about state report card and do kind of the state of the schools at that meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to incorporate that into new business, and then establish that in every October that we do a state of the schools style meeting where it would include state report card data and then any other data that we're tracking relative to the action steps in our strategic plan. And that way we can have at least a yearly check-in and monitoring so that we can see how we're doing on our plan.
Invite your friends and family because it should be very informative.
I think it'd be nice to reach out to that group and make sure
Yeah,
they're
make
aware that it'll be presented next month, just to remind them. I know they were told during those sessions, but it'd be nice to have them see the final product in person.
Yeah, I'll send a message out to the strategic planning committee, inviting them to the meeting if they'd like to come. And then I was also planning on just sending an email to all of our families, informing them that we were going to do that state of the schools meeting at the next board meeting if they were interested in attending.
Did you say you're doing that before or after the board meeting or during?
I was going to put it into new business, so as a part of the board meeting.
Got it.
Any other questions for John? Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, it is. I like seeing all those names
Mm-hmm.
because they're all key people that really do care about the way the school does operate. At this point of the meeting, we are at public participation. We ask you to come up to the microphone, address the board, and please be respectful.
All right, I'll be respectful. I'm Dan Demko, and I'm really here a couple of things. And first and foremost is I had the opportunity recently to tour the old high school, the one that was built in, 26 or 35 or whatever it was, and to also look at a program that they've instituted there. And I think it fits well with what, John, you just talked about in terms of your strategic plan. No, not every student is, ready to become a ancient art history major in school. And the trades are becoming more and more important, particularly today, because without the trades, you don't have a building like this. And your diesel program, and I want to congratulate you, the board, and John, your staff, for getting that award, getting the grant. If I remember correctly, it's around $900,000. And that's huge. That's huge. And that will further the diesel program, basically to help kids who want to, move in that way. Well, the program I looked at, or the materials that I looked at in the old high school, are quite something. They're welding. And the fellow who is running that program is he runs the welding program for Lakeland Community College. And he's well known throughout not only the state, but the country for the work that he's done in writing curriculum, and he works with the Department of Defense, et cetera, et cetera. And he's running that program up there for some kids who are now involved in it. And he have accumulated about $500,000 worth of welding equipment, which, like the diesel program, I don't think had that kind of start, although we're going to be enhancing it. And I was thinking about how the kids that are in the diesel program, how welding could also be an add-on to what they're learning. Also, kids who aren't in the diesel program might want to explore that as a long-term career path. And as the fellow who runs it, his name is Ryan Eubank, I believe. And Ryan was saying that a couple of his students who graduated from Lakeland last year are now working down in Delaware County on the welding, around the drilling stuff, and they're making about $130,000 to $140,000 a year, 19-year-olds. Mm-hmm. So the money's there. There's another student who's working with SpaceX as an engineer with Musk, sending rockets to the moon and bringing them back safely. The whole program that I saw, it starts with the welding program, but they intend to bring in carpentry, painting, and I don't mean artist painting, I mean, set painting, and other things that support what Date's doing there to develop his cinematographic studio. And it's really, if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go out and take a look. It's amazing. So in talking with Date and with Ryan, I talked about your diesel program and how the kids who I've met, some of them, really have gobbed onto that, and they're really enthused by it. I'm thinking, like I said, some of these kids, that's exactly the direction they may want to move. And if there's a way to use the program that exists today, like what you do with Kent, or like what we're doing with the diesel program, I would encourage whatever activities or conversations it would take. And I don't know what those are, but I would encourage the board and the administration to look into that, because that equipment's, it's unbelievable. So that's the first thing. And as I said, I think it fits well, John, into community interaction, community relationships, because there are a lot of companies now who are in support of that. It works well with Lakeland. I'm sure it would work with Kent if they had an interest in also participating. But it also brings in other companies in the community who need those skills to operate their and build their businesses. So that's the first thing. And I encourage you to take a look at it. I think it's terrific. Second is, and I don't know where this falls, but I heard something about what they're doing in, I think it's Strongsville, and it's random drug testing. Kids that are on the football team or any sports, and the whole student body, though, the board and the parent are supporting it. And I don't know how well that would work in Burton. I know we foolishly passed Prop 1 or whatever that proposition was to allow, marijuana to be accessed by anybody. And I can only tell you from my experience in Los Angeles County for about 15 years working with the Sheriff's Youth Foundation, marijuana is a great gateway drug. And if we can keep our kids on a straight and narrow, I think that would be beneficial for them, most importantly. Secondly, for the community. So I don't know if you've heard about it, but I would encourage you to look into it. Thank you.
John, could you comment for Dan's sake about our meeting at Lakeland that we had not too long ago?
Sure. And there's not a whole lot public about this yet, but we are going to take over that ODOT facility across the street from Preston. And we are transforming our diesel. Right now we have 2 diesel classes. We're transforming that into an industrial power and technology pathway. We will have 2 different agricultural education pathways. Will be agribusiness and industrial power and technology. We're partnering with Preston, and then we also Coonley Brothers, Countryside, and Junction Auto. So, and Great Lakes Cheese. So the ultimate goal is at the end of the industrial power and technology. So we come up with we'll have a half-day program essentially, similar to an Auburn program, but their senior year, if they're interested in over-the-road auto, they go into a half-day internship with Preston or Junction. If they're interested in over-the-road diesel, they go into an apprenticeship with Coonley or Countryside. If they're interested in the manufacturing aspects of mechanics and what diesel and mechanic techs do, then they go into an apprenticeship program at Great Lakes Cheese. All 3 of those pathways lead to job opportunities. In fact, Pat Preston was nearly guaranteeing jobs for those kids. One of the buildings there already has welding bays and has equipment. We've met with Lakeland College once already about not offering a welding program, but incorporating aspects of welding into all of our pathways. So our agribusiness pathway, the students will have to make jack stands, which they'll have to weld. So that will be what they'll have to do through there. Through the industrial power and technology, either in the auto or the diesel or the manufacturing side, they'll have to do welding of some sort. So we'll work that in through there. The idea, there's also a body shop there that Preston would essentially turn into a full-fledged body shop, and our kids could learn essentially auto collision and repair and painting and all kinds of. So we're essentially going to turn that old ODOT facility into the new Berkshire Career Tech campus. So we'll have some over-the-road auto, over-the-road diesel, manufacturing auto or manufacturing mechanics. We're going to incorporate some welding in there. We'll have our vocational programs over there, work study. We'll incorporate our special ed work study, where the plan is to put some industrial size washers and dryers over there, and then we can help Preston with their laundry needs. We can also help with laundry needs in the district there, as well as doing some of the car washing and things like that that they need out of the program. Currently, our vocational program, I think, has 23 23 job sites that they place kids at. So we have districts, we have Cardinal, we have Bloomfield, we have other surrounding districts that are starting to request to put their kids into our vocational program because we get them out to so many different places. So all that's kind of coming together, and we should find out. We have another grant through the state. The grant we just got was through the Ohio Senate. It was sponsored by Sandy O'Brien, Senator O'Brien. So that was the $915,000 grant that kind of gets us kickstarted. We have another $2.5 million grant that is currently being scored. We should find out within the next couple of weeks from the state whether we get the entire grant, a partial grant, or where we are with that, and that will help infuse some of those other programs. But the goal is, that's also in addition to the internship course that we launched here. So we're getting kids out, doing things, trying to get them on a path. We feel like if they want to go to college, they have plenty of opportunities to get college work here, but they're also going to have opportunities for their employer to send them back to college. It'll just be in an area that's a focus of that employer. So they will still get, the college opportunities. Some of them may get that through their employer instead of us, and then they'll be getting paid while they get that opportunity. Others will still get that here because we still have the medical assisting pathways and other. We're looking at potentially starting a paralegal pathway. So we're looking at as many trade and skill and workforce development pathways that also embed college credit that we can, but definitely embedding the welding aspect into that. I've talked to Date a couple times. He never mentioned the welding, but I can reach out to him again to see where we are on that. But yeah, it's welding's kind of top of everyone's mind because those are highly sought after skills. And even if you want to be a mechanic, you're going to weld something. If you have lawn equipment that you use at home, you're eventually going to have to weld something. And so, yeah, there's skills that everyone should have. If you're working on a farm, you're going to have to weld things. So it's definitely a focus that we're going to move forward with.
And John had mentioned the grant opportunities that we look at. When we had a new hire this year, Vanessa Carwin, and she is working hand in hand with us whenever we're coming up with an idea, regardless of what it is. She's invited to the table, and she's a go-getter when it comes to seeking out that money. I mean, she's done, we're only in September, and she's surpassed what we thought that she could start out doing. And it just, we believe that that'll grow because she's got a real knack at seeking out and finding those grants that we need to run these programs. Because obviously we can't just take it out of the general budget. You can't even use the PI, because we need that for just the maintenance in the school. So it's critical for us to grow these programs, but we're well on our way. So just so you're aware.
That's great to hear. It's fantastic, beyond great. And I don't know what if any there is an opportunity, but I can tell you there's $500,000 worth of equipment sitting up there right now. They've got bays built. Where the old art room was. Well, behind that is where this material is gathered. And the other things you're doing down our way, that's great because that's an eyesore. Let's get rid of that salt thing, would you?
We're planning on demolishing the salt dome. That's one of the first things.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. Anyone else for public participation? Okay, that is now closed. Okay, treasurer's report.
Let the record reflect the treasurer submitted a statement to the board and to the superintendent showing the revenues and the receipts, the sources derived, the various appropriations made by the board, the expenditures and disbursements, the purposes and balances remaining in each fund. The financial statements for the period ending August 2024 has been submitted subject to audit, includes the financial summary, appropriation and revenue summary, check register recap, and bank reconciliation. Can I have a motion to approve two donations, Margaret DeYoung and Robert and Joanne Graham, in honor of Joanne Graham for the Burton Elementary Library?
So moved.
Jody,
Second.
Brian, any discussion? Beth, roll call, please.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Mr. Berman?
Yes.
Mr. Manfredi?
Yes.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the following financial amendments? I have a cash transfer from the class of 24 to the class of 25. We have one then and out in invoice to Agile Sports Technologies, and then appropriation changes to the Strategic Community Investment Grant. That's the $915,000 grant that Senator O'Brien sponsored. Auxiliary funds to the Global Connections Academy, FASA grant, Each Child on Track grant. We're going to appropriate additional $20,000 in interest for the modular construction. And then we received Attorney General safety grant.
Nice. So moved.
Brian, I'll
Second.
second.
Okay.
Any discussion? Roll call, please. Beth?
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Mr. Berman?
Yes.
Mr. Manfredi?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to authorize Berkshire Local Schools to participate in the State of Ohio Cooperative Purchasing Program?
So moved.
Go ahead. I'll second.
Brian. Beth, I know it's a little early, but do we have any idea how many buses we're looking at for next year?
So this is not
Oh,
buses,
this
Mr.
isn't
Manfredi.
bus?
No, this is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
We're purchasing all our modular furniture through the State of Ohio joint purchasing. And so this allows us to not go out for bid because the State of Ohio already did.
Gotcha.
Sorry. Any other discussion? Beth, roll call, please.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Mr. Berman?
Yes.
Mr. Manfredi?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
The
Yes.
Next one.
Thank you. All right,
Next one's
this
your
one's for you,
buses.
Mr. Manfredi. Motion to participate in the 24-25 Ohio School Council Cooperative Bus Purchasing Program, authorizing the OSC to advertise and receive bids on behalf of Berkshire Board of Education as per the specifications submitted for a cooperative purchase of one 72-passenger conventional bus and one passenger van.
So moved. I'll second.
Linda, Jody. Okay, now I'll ask the question. The passenger van that we're talking about buying, is that something we've been buying the standard vans, or is it different?
So just for the record, we don't plan on purchasing either one of these at this point, but this is for emergency situations.
Got it.
I'm told that we are good for buses and we're good for vans. So if something crazy would happen, we'd be able to go out and purchase.
Cool. Okay, any other discussion? Beth, roll call, please.
Mr. Berman?
Yes.
Mr. Manfredi?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report.
I'd like to request a motion to approve the following personnel items for both certified and classified as listed.
So moved.
I'll second.
Dan and Brian. Any discussion? Roll call, Beth?
Mr. Manfredi?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Mr. Berman?
Yes.
I would like to request a motion to approve the following volunteers for the 2024-25 school year as listed.
So moved.
Dan, I'll second. Any discussion? Roll call, Beth, please.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Stone,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth,
Yes.
Mr. Berman,
Yes.
Mr. Manfredi.
Yes.
I would like to request a motion to approve the following certificated employees for the Science of Reading stipend as listed.
So moved.
Brian,
I'll second.
Jody. Any discussion?
Do they all have to do this basically?
Yeah, so there's varying amounts of training depending on the grade level of the teacher. So they either have to do a 7-hour or a 21-hour training. And the stipend for the 7-hour training is $400, and the stipend for the 21-hour training is $1,200. And the state will reimburse us for those stipends, but once they complete, they give us the certificate and we approve their payment. And then once we approve their payment, then we submit to the state for reimbursement because it's like a state mandate.
Any further discussion? Beth, roll call, please.
Mrs. Stone,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth,
Abstain.
Mr. Berman,
Yes.
Mr. Manfredi,
Yes.
and Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
I would like to request a motion to approve the following contracts as attached.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, go ahead.
Brian? Any discussion? Beth, roll call, please.
Mr. Wadsworth,
Yes.
Mr. Berman,
Yep.
Mr. Manfredi,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Stone.
Yes.
I would like to request a motion to approve the 8th grade trip to Washington DC, which will depart May 7th and return May 9th.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Jody and Linda. Any discussion? Beth, roll call, please.
Mr. Berman,
Yes.
Mr. Manfredi,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Stone,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Thank you. Old business.
In old business, we were able to come to a tentative settlement agreement with the fairgrounds on both the water and the eviction hearing. However, until that settlement is official and signed, we aren't allowed to speak about it, but I did want to let you know that it looks like the fight is over.
Any other old business? New business.
I just wondered if you, John, you could give us like a little, how's it been the first week of school now? We have a week under our belt. How's it been?
Yeah, so we had our, we started last Wednesday. It's gone pretty smooth. We usually expect the traffic and carpool to be very chaotic day one, but we had everyone in the building by about 8:04, 8:05, and we had everyone out of here by 3:30. And then by day two, we were down to 8:01, 8:02, and 3:20. And then, today everyone was in by 8:01 and the buses were pulling out at 3:20. And if you're dismissing at 3:10 and your buses are pulling out at 3:20, that's pretty efficient. So I think we're doing well. It is a lot of traffic all at once. And so I know people like to voice their opinions about that. But the fact that within 10 minutes it's all gone speaks to the fact that it's a pretty efficient system and it's working pretty well.
Do you find that we have more ridership on our bus or about the same as last year?
We have about the same as last year, but last year it did go up a little. So I think we have about 1,200 kids riding, or 11 or 1,200 riders. Now, some of them don't ride in the morning, but they ride in the afternoon and vice versa. But the last time I talked to the transportation department, they had about between 11 and 1,200 kids that were riding buses.
Okay, very good.
50, what percent is
We have around 1,400 total kids, so that's a large chunk of our kids.
that? We have that many riding the bus.
Yeah. We still do see a lot of cars come through that drop off.
So you're one of the
I
ones in the
tried, I
line.
tried to get in for practice. I'm like, holy moly.
I mean, I am a parent that drops off some days and picks up most days, and day one wasn't even bad, but
No.
having done it last year, I knew it was
been
gonna get
better every
better. Day two was better, day three, I mean, it's getting better rapidly and,
Yeah, we
Give the
kind of
staff
got
a
it
lot of
down
credit.
to a science, and the biggest part is the new parents just kind of getting used to the system, and then once they get used to it, and they'll adjust their times a little bit when they come, when they drop off, but then, it works pretty well. Last year, at the beginning of the year, we were having big problems with the line starting way too early. This year, the line still forms about a half hour before we dismiss, but that's where we had it when we thought it was running well, because last year at some points it was an hour and 15 minutes early. They were all lined up. This year we got them down to about a half hour, and that's all with them. I haven't had to send any mass emails reminders because they've done it so well. Compared to day one when we first moved in, it's night and day.
Yeah.
And speaking of the start date, I have heard nothing but overwhelmingly positive comments about starting after the fair. So
There's somewhere.
no, but I have heard zero negative comments
Yeah.
about it. So we should,
Yeah, the only negative comments I've heard is from other superintendents
Yes.
yeah,
that now their parents are on them about
right. That's true.
starting after the fair. But that's not my issue.
yeah, we need to. I've had a few questions about because we haven't approved next year and the year after's, calendars officially yet with the change of dates. And I've had a few people ask me if this was a 1-year trial thing. And I said, well, kind of, but it's gone well. So I have a feeling we'll be going that direction.
Well, it's at least a 3-year thing because it's written into the teacher contract.
Great.
So
Okay. We hadn't, I guess, approved the calendars here officially, right, for the next 2 years.
we have a 2-year calendar, I think. I don't know. I'll have to check and see if we brought it to the board yet, but
That's good news either way, though. That's what I said. I would be shocked if we didn't move forward with this continuing because it's been nothing but positive.
I love leading the way, and I think it should remain, but it's one person's opinion,
Watch and see who else does it next year, because they may get some heat from their parents.
The consistency, and it makes it easier as far as employment for these kids in the summer and everything. If they know that it's set on those, the Memorial Day, Labor Day, it makes it pretty easy. So,
And the kids who don't have jobs still get to be kids. They get a real summer. The little ones.
and there you have it.
That's true. Good point.
Any other new business? Okay, next board meeting is October 14th here in our auditorium, 6 PM. And as John mentioned, we'll discuss our report card at that
that
meeting.
will be the last meeting before I get ready to travel to Albania.
Is that where the aircraft carriers happen?
No, that's November.
Geez, I
Albania
need
is
to
the
go to San
World
Antonio.
Wrestling
That'd be awesome.
Championship. That's where I'll go watch Lucas wrestle.
Nice.
It's amazing.
Do we have any need for executive session?
I am not aware of any need.
Okay, let's make the motion for adjourn.
So move.
Brian,
I'll second.
Dan, any discussion? Beth, roll call, please.
Mr. Bourbon,
Yes.
Mr. Manfredi,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Stone,
Yes.
and Mr. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Thank you all
Thank
for
you.
coming. All of
Be
you.
careful leaving. It'll be crowded.
Speaking of traffic.
I don't want you. Don't hit